Man, I hate to be a sheep, but there's something beautiful about college and NFL football. There's something beautiful about it because, like, if you're the biggest truther in the world, there's a lot. There's a lot of occultism in football. And of course, the biggest sheep in the world know, all about football. Football is a Catholic ritual. Okay. Jesus Christ dies on the cross. He's born, allegedly, according to our religious holidays. Jesus Christ is born on December 25th, 3 days after the sun dies. It goes away, it disappears on December 22nd. 3 days later, the sun resurrects on the cross. If you look in Catholic tradition, the deepest readers of the Catechism, Catholic school theology teachers, and I know this because I was a Catholic school student for 12 or 13 years, they will tell you that Easter is based on when the moon. It's based on the moon. Easter is based on the moon. There were almost 10 religions that predate Christianity that had a serious flood that wiped out all of humanity, like Noah's Ark, a God that was the Son of God who was born from a virgin, and a man who died, and 3 days later he resurrected. There's almost 10 religions that predate Christianity that show that. So football, when does it start? It starts in the fall. Who betrayed Jesus? Judas Iscariot. Judas Iscariot. No, Judas is Scorpio. And he betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Silver, like the moon is silver. He betrays Jesus over the course of the 30-day lunar cycle. Scorpio is October. He betrays Jesus, and he gives what? Jesus what? He gives Jesus a kiss to identify him. In ancient Egyptian times, if you got stung by a scorpion in Egypt, they would call it the kiss of death. They would say, "You've been given the kiss of death. Do not call a doctor, call a priest." So the scorpion gives Judas Iscariot, Judas is Scorpio, he gives Jesus the kiss in the fall. When does football season start? You're the boys of fall. Football season starts and it's in its heyday in the fall. Judas is Scorpio, gives Jesus the Son, God's Son, he gives Jesus the kiss of death. The Son dies on December 22nd, and it disappears for 3 days, and then it resurrects. The Son is born on December 25th, Jesus' birthday. You know, what, but I think football is such a beautiful sport because what's football about? What does football really do to 99% of the young men who play it? And the you know who's call these young men the G word. All right, you should know who the you know who's are. You should know what the G word is, but the you know who's, most of the people who play football, they're G words. They're white and black G words. 40% of you know who's own slaves. We're not supposed to talk about this. We're not supposed to talk about this, but 40% of the you know who's in America own slaves. Only 1% of white Americans own slaves. And we're not supposed to talk about this. 40% of the you know who's own slaves. 1% of white Americans own slaves. And so we're in this situation now. Black History Month comes around, and no one wants to talk about the fact that the 13th Amendment explicitly says slavery is legal. A lot of people don't know this. The 13th Amendment didn't free the slaves. Go Google the 13th Amendment right now and tell me what it says. It says explicitly that slavery is legal so long as you are being punished for a crime. So slavery is legal. All the abolitionists, Harriet Tubman, and all those people, they didn't get what they wanted. We say the North won the Civil War. Well, you know, have you ever worked at a manufacturing plant in the South? I guarantee you, manufacturing plants in the South that you work at, they'll say, "Who made this? Who made this?" People in prison made this. Why? Because they can be paid much less than the minimum wage. People in prison can be paid much less the minimum wage. The 13th Amendment explicitly says slavery is legal as long as it's punishment for a crime. So we got football, we got white Americans, and we got black Americans. The G words. Yeah, the G word. It's not the other letter word. It's the G words. White Americans and black Americans, you're the G words. And slavery is legal in America so long as it is punishment for a crime. And so when the black Americans say, hey, we're 13% of the population, we're 14% of the population, but we get convicted for 45% of the crimes. What is that? That's modern slavery. That is the police profiling and targeting black Americans, putting them in prison, where according to the 13th Amendment, because they're being punished for a crime, they can legally be slaves. And if you don't believe me, answer this question. What was the one day of the week that there were no slave auctions? We're not supposed to talk about this, but what was the one day of the week that there were no slave auctions? I don't even know if I get Saturday. My bad. I meant to say Saturday. The you know who's special day of the week? No slave auctions. No slave auctions. 40% of the you know who's own slaves. And then after the Civil War, the North won the Civil War with the 13th Amendment. But if you read the 13th Amendment right now, it will explicitly tell you slavery is legal so long as it's punishment for a crime. So what is football? People getting CTE, people getting permanent brain damage, white and black G words, getting permanent damage. And when is football played? It's played in the fall. Jesus is betrayed. The Son, God's Son, is betrayed by Judas Iscariot. No, Judas is Scorpio. He gives Jesus the kiss of death, like a scorpion's kiss of death, for 30 pieces of silver. Those are the 30 days of the lunar calendar. And so this guy, he actually was a legend, but he can't be in the Hall of Fame. Ricky Waters can't be in the Hall of Fame because he said he was down. His team was down 3 scores late in the game. His team was down 3 scores. Completely meaningless game. And we still hear about, what's it called? Lincoln Financial Field. Lincoln, like Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln Field. We still hear to this day about how dangerous it is to play on this field. And he was playing before unnecessary roughness, for headhunting, and he was definitely playing almost 25 years before the targeting rules in college football. So he was playing before it was against the rules to take a receiver's head off. You know, in Call of Duty, in the military, they say, you're no good to your country dead. And this is my message for the truthers. You're no good to your country. You're no good to your family. You're no good to your neighbors. You're no good to your employers dead. You're no good to them dead. And so the point of this video is, besides not taking the jabs, and besides not sending your sons into Iraq and Afghanistan after September 11th, 19 years apart, by the way, what has being a truther gotten you? What has being a truther gotten you? Because if you have a big account, you start talking about Gematria, you start talking about the targeted individual program, they'll put your ass on a list. The Patriot Act post 9/11 said that they can conduct domestic espionage on, people who what? American citizens who what? Who talk about Building 7, who talk about the moon landing, who talk about the targeted individual program. You, right now, can be diagnosed with schizophrenia. I guarantee this. You go to a therapist, state licensed therapist right now. You can be diagnosed with schizophrenia for saying the words targeted individual program. If you look up, which Amy Eskridge said and I said, me and Amy Eskridge have the same story. I made the exact same claims about people breaking into my apartment, not stealing anything, and going through my drawers a year before the Amy Eskridge story came out, where she said, and we're supposed to believe all women, that strange men were going through her panty drawer. And so, I just got to ask the truthers the same thing Ricky Watters asked. He's down 3 scores late in the game. He's going over the middle. And this is what he's facing. This is what he's facing. He goes and he dives and he tries to catch this ball. Look what happened to Austin Collie. Look what happened to Willie McGinnis. Look what happened to Dwight Clark. Go look up biggest knockout hits in NFL football history. What happened to Emmanuel Sanders? What happened to Shannon Sharp? And so he didn't dive for this ball. He didn't put his body on the line, down 3 scores late in the game, to catch this ball. But what would have happened to him? He would have gotten his head blown off. What happened to Amy Eskridge? She's got videos of herself being attacked by EMF weapons. She makes claims that strange people are following her around in cars. The same car changes its license plate. She calls a Lyft a strange car. That same strange car, picks her up. It doesn't even have a license plate. It doesn't even have a Lyft or an Uber sticker. And they're just laughing at her. They're just laughing at her. Amy Eskridge and Ricky Watters and me, we're telling you the same thing. For who and for what? For who? For what? I talked to my baby boomer father earlier this week, and I asked him about the third building that fell on 9/11. He said, "What third building? You know, what third building?" He didn't even know. Conservative, multi-time Bush voter, multi-time Trump voter. He didn't even know about the third building that fell on 9/11. So I got to ask, for who? For what? What's being a truther ever gotten you? Besides not taking the jabs, and besides not sending your sons into Iraq and Afghanistan after a third building fell on 9/11. Didn't even get hit by a plane. Boeing planes, like Boeing was started in Seattle, like the Twin Towers architect was from Seattle. But look at this. Kash Patel, like after this event, we're going to be done with cash. We're going to be done with fiat. No more fiat. We're going to XRP. Ripple, tsunami, the liquidity flood starts in Japan, the bridge currency, like the Golden Gate Bridge currency, Mr. Pool 311, like the pandemic was declared 311, and the first case of CV in America was in Seattle. Corona, the crown virus, like the ring of fire. But look at this. Kash Patel announces the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey for allegedly threatening to off President Trump based on his 8647 social media post. Patel says they investigated this case for 9 to 11 months. Let's just think about this. James Comey posts an alphanumeric Gematria code on the beach like the tsunami. The beach like the tsunami. And they investigated this case for 10 months? No. For 8 months? No. For 9 to 11 months. Isn't that kind of weird? The investigation starts on one date and it ends on another date. So there's an official time period for when this investigation took place. And apparently, according to Kash Patel, cash like Ripple, cash like the water event, cash like Mr. Pool 311, the liquidity flood starts in Japan, Ripple's the bridge currency like the Golden Gate Bridge, pandemic declared 311, where they have the Space Needle, where Bill Gates' Microsoft is, where they have patent 060606, human body activity data using cryptocurrency, using human body activity data as a node in a cryptocurrency system. The pandemic, the Space Needle, like the jabs, Kash Patel. The beach, the water event. They investigated this for 9 to 11 months. For 9 to 11 months. What did James Comey post? James Comey posted 8647 on May 15th, 2025. 8647 on May 15th, 2025. Isn't that interesting? Because from September 11th, 2001 to May 15th, 2025, 8,647 days. Comey posted 8647, 8,647 days after 9/11, 2001. And what did Kash Patel say? Kash Patel said they investigated this for 9 to 11 months. How much more evidence do you need? He posts this 8,647 days after 9/11, and Kash Patel says they investigated this for 9 to 11 months, and he posted this 8,647 days after 9/11. What's the accusation? The accusation was that James Comey was calling for Donald Trump to be off. James Comey was calling for Donald Trump to be off. He's had multiple attempts on his life, including in Butler, Pennsylvania, including on a golf course, and now at the White House Correspondents' Center. What's this card say? At any time, at any place, our blank can drop you. Have a nice day. It's about Donald Trump getting off. They investigated this for 9 to 11 months, and it was 8647 was posted 8,647 days after 9/11. We see the most recent attempt on Trump's life was made by Cole Allen. Cole Allen was a NASA fellow. He shot a Secret Service agent. NASA fellow Cole Thomas Allen equals Secret Service special agent in Gematria. Cole Allen appeared on TV for a segment called Aging into the Future. Aging into the Future equals Revelation 13 in Gematria. He donated $25 to Kamala Harris's campaign. $25 equals Butler, Pennsylvania, where Trump's last attempt, besides the one on the golf course, occurred. So he donated $25 to Kamala Harris's campaign. $25 equals Butler, Pennsylvania. And he was in a segment called Aging into the Future, which equals Revelation 13. Donald Trump is the Antichrist. And we look at Revelation 13. It's called The Beast Out of the Sea. The beast has a fatal wound, but the fatal wound shall be healed. When Donald Trump actually does go down, like Donald Trump is the Antichrist acts like Jesus. In the book of Matthew, there's a mega earthquake. After Jesus dies, the book of Revelation multiple times mentions a mega earthquake. When Donald Trump finally goes down, there will be a mega earthquake, and the beast comes out of the sea, whose fatal wound shall be healed, like Trump was shot in the ear. And so, this is where I wonder, 8,647 days after 9/11, Comey posts 8647. Kash Patel says they investigated this for 9 to 11 months. It took the pictures on a beach. Revelation 13, like aging into the future equals Revelation 13, is about the beast out of the sea when the Antichrist is shot in the head. But the fatal wound shall heal like Jesus Christ resurrects. And this is just where I asked the truth community, if you knew about the jabs, you knew not to send your children into Iraq and Afghanistan. We're really talking about once every 19 years, being a truther offers you something. Other than that, for who? For what? For who? For what? You know, I mean, people aren't going to get this, man. People aren't going to get this. And back to the NFL connections, Makai Lemon slithers like Stevie Wonder. Everyone's calling him Stevie Wonder. He's slithering back and forth like the snake event, like the Culebra event, like the mega earthquake, like you played at USC. Makai Lemon, Stevie Wonder equals Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where he was drafted to. The same day as the attempt on Trump's life by a shooter from Torrance, California, Diego Pavia went undrafted. Diego Pavia undrafted equals Torrance, California. So I just got to ask the truthers, if James Comey can post 8647, 8,647 days after 9/11, and Kash Patel is going to say they investigated this for 9 to 11 months and people still aren't going to wake up, what are you being a truther for? And will you ever wake up to the fact that being a truther itself is a psyop? Zachary Hubbard, who teaches about the base ciphers, happens to equal the base ciphers and Lockheed Martin in every cipher of Gematria. If you don't live in Seattle, and you don't live in San Francisco, and you don't live in Los Angeles, well, what's being a truther ever gotten you? And we still have people arguing over whether these attempts on Trump's life are staged. These are Trump supporters, Trump's core supporters, saying Trump's going to make an exit, and we're going to see President J.D. Vance. Trump's going to make an exit, and we're going to see President J.D. Vance. This is another Trump supporter talking about the Cole Allen tweet from Henry Martinez, who worked at NASA in 2014. He has a picture of something from an exhibit called The Time Traveler. And there's the book called The Last President. There's the book called Baron Trump's Marvelous Adventure, where he goes to Russia, written in the 1920s. And it's just like, if the Christians aren't going to wake up to this, and the sheep aren't going to wake up to this, what is being a truther? Besides not getting the jabs, and besides not living in Seattle and San Francisco, and besides not living in Afghanistan, not sending your sons to Afghanistan and Iraq, what has being a truther ever done for you? For who? For what?